My first venue got shut down because it was not zoned properly. I literally got out there, planted flowers, built things, put all my sweat equity in it, thousands of dollars, and not be able to operate the venue. And I tell my clients, zoning will come out, they will tell you one thing, fire marshal will come out and tell you another thing. Get those two entities in there together and hash it out while they're there, because you'll just be a vicious cycle. Believe me, it was a huge learning curve. I made so many mistakes.
Welcome to the Venue RX. On this show, we document and share best practices around owning, operating, and managing world-class wedding venues.
What is up, everyone? Jonathan here. I am really thrilled to have a venue coach and consultant on the call with me today. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome to the show, Bonnie Hawthorne. Thank you so much for being here today.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm so delighted to be here.
This is going to be such a fun conversation because I truly don't think there is enough resources and education for venue owners and operators. It's such a huge market. And so it's so neat. You know, when I came across your stuff, it's super neat that you're doing what you're doing.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I found that there was a void in the market for up and coming venue owners. So, and I know when I first started in the industry as a venue owner, I really couldn't find a coach. I mean, they were either asking that you have so many years of experience in the industry, or that you made so much money in your venue, that you had gone through zoning. And so what I find that new venue owners need someone to help them maneuver through the process. So I was just so excited when I found my niche and my calling. So I love it. I get really hyped. I'm very passionate about it. So yeah.
Cool. Let's unpack this for everyone. Could you kind of take us back? So give us a little bit of your history. I know you were a venue owner for a while. You've got tons of experience. Could you give us a little bit of that experience and maybe even take us all the way back? How did you get into the events industry in the beginning?
Well, I was in the military for 23 years. I worked for general officers, so I traveled extensively. I've done international conferences, a lot of international logistics, planning of conferences, all kind of military events. And so that's where I get my background. You know, as in the military, we get training in our career field. So pretty much that's what I was trained to do. And when I retired, I went to a corporate Fortune 500 company where I was executive assistant for the CEO there, and pretty much fell into the same thing, planning all the meetings, the parties, offsites, anything that, you know, had to do with any kind of social function or social engagement. I left there, and I was blessed to be recruited to work at the University of Alabama for Coach Nick Saban for a couple of years, where if anybody know Alabama football, you know, you hit the ground running, you got to know your ish. And it was just a thrilling and exciting experience there. I was able to hone more experience because, as we know, Coach is very busy. He does a lot of talking and speaking engagements. So being in the mix of that just kind of added to my years of experience. And so from there, I kind of left the University of Alabama, started my own business wedding planning company. I had a wonderful coach, Jody Ann Rowe of the event certificate. And Jody was like, you know, let me back up. I started a venue called the Paradise Gardens, which was an outdoor venue. And boy, that was the first time I owned a venue, and I struggled because once again, I could not find a coach that I fit in their niche. And so I struggled, I failed some, I picked myself up, I kind of learned the business. I started touring other venues, hoteliers and things like that. Went to Wedding MBA a couple of times to get some knowledge about it. And so from there, I just thought, okay, the venue thing is good, but I want to be a wedding planner. So I went into being a wedding planner, but in the process, my husband purchased a 10,000 square foot venue. And let me tell you, that was a cumbersome task. So, in the midst of that, I met Jody, of the event certificate, Jody Ann Rowe of the event certificate. She became my coach. She honed me in on wedding planning, but everything that I learned from her in wedding planning, I could translate it to my venue ownership. And so from there, she just kind of said, you really know a lot about event venues. You really know a lot. And she said, you should become a coach. And I'm just not a social person. I don't think I'm an eloquent speaker. So I was just like, oh, no, I can't do this. But, we kind of worked through it. And I followed some other coaches and just took some courses, on more management courses, because I do hold an MBA. I took more management courses. And I just felt once I got out into the world of coaching, I just kind of learned there was a void. And those were my people. Those were the people that I felt like I didn't have somebody on my side to mentor me, to bring me along. And I thought we need to start from the basics, because a lot of people jump in this because they think, oh, I love to plan parties. It is so much more than planning a party, right? And so I kind of started them off with the basics, but I do encourage them to go to the Small Business Association, workforce development, and to get some basic business knowledge before jumping in. Because if you don't know the economics of business, you're not going to set yourself up for success. So that's pretty much how I started in the game. And that's kind of where I want to take these new venue owners and make sure they have a great foundation when starting out. Because like I said, it's more than planning parties. It's your clients. You have to give them experience. You have to give them what they paid for, and we often sometimes see so many venues, as we call in the industry, holes in the wall, where people just throw something together. That's not what we want to represent in our industry, right? We want professionals. We want people that are knowledgeable. And I think that is my calling, to make sure that, in my niche, that I can set these people up for success.
I love, Bonnie, I know you said you're not eloquent, maybe, or that's kind of what you said, but you said that very eloquently. And I think it's entirely true. You kind of glossed over a couple of things, though, that I want to dive into a little deeper. So sure. You said there was was it the first venue called Paradise? It was an outdoor venue, Paradise?
Yeah. There was Paradise Gardens, then there was Versailles, and then the B Suite. Yeah. So I've owned and operated 3 event venues.
Okay. So take me through that. And I'm interested, because you said you also made a lot of mistakes earlier on. So could you kind of go through, what was the initial process? Like when you got that first venue, the Paradise Garden, and you were just learning everything, what were some of those first kind of mistakes that you made right out of the gate that now looking back, you're like, oh gosh, that was a rookie mistake?
1, market research and zoning. And I stress this to all my clients, because I'm going to be completely honest, as I'm honest with them. My first venue got shut down because it was not zoned properly. And when I tell you, I took just a dilapidated piece of land and turned it into a garden oasis. I literally got out there, planted flowers, built things, put all my sweat equity in it. And then you find out, because you went by, the property owner was like, oh, it was a social club, so you can do it. No, there's a complete difference, so that was very devastating for me, to put all my sweat equity in it, thousands of dollars, and not be able to operate the venue. So that was the first major lesson, that taught me from the beginning, zoning. You need to go to zoning. You need to make sure and follow what their guidelines. And I tell my clients now, because this is another thing. Zoning will come out. They will tell you one thing. Fire marshal will come out and tell you another thing. Get those 2 entities in there together and hash it out while they're there, because you'll just be a vicious cycle. And so that's why when we did our second venue, we were so much more successful, because I had all the failures, not marketing properly. Like I said, not going to zoning, not understanding the whole process of, upselling and things of that nature. You hear people all the time tell you, oh, I make 30, 40, 50, 60,000 in a month. It's just not from bookings. It's from upsells, and people do not realize that. And I did not realize that in the beginning. So I also acquired a rental company at the time. And so that allowed me to upsell linens, backdrops, uplighting, all kinds of things. So the first one, believe me, it was a huge learning curve. I made so many mistakes, but the major mistake was not going to zoning and being shut down. Yeah. So
I know this was probably at the time a really painful experience, and you've learned so much, and that was your first one. What was that process like? Like, how did they shut you down?
So what it was is that, like I told you, the property manager had told us that it was a social club. And when I went to zoning, I was told, yes, it was a social club. And so the thing I tell people, even if you go to zoning and zoning tell you yes, you need to have it in writing. Have everything documented properly and, keep it on hand at all times. And, just by word of mouth, them saying, yes, it's zoned properly. And then we come in and then, when we go to renew our license, then they was like, well, that property is not zoned, for an event venue. And we were like, well, what do we have to do? And so we had zoning, the fire marshal come out, and first we had zoning. They told us one thing, then the fire marshal come out. That's why I say get them together, right? So that you can just be on one. And it was just all of the discrepancies and everything that we would have to bring up to par was just so overwhelming. It wasn't cost effective for us to continue to operate. Mm-hmm. So we shut it down. If we had anything on the books, and we were so blessed, to be honest with you, because we owned a beachside property. And so at our home, and we mostly dealt with intimate weddings and things of that nature. So we allowed them to come to our property, which was even more so beautiful than the gardens, right? And so that's how we saved face, and, our reputation wasn't spoiled. But we did have a B plan. So, like I always tell people, if you have to pivot or anything, you need to have an A, B, C, D, E, F, G plan. Because you just don't want to leave your clients hanging. It's unprofessional. And the word of mouth, if you try to do anything else, going to any other industry, will just, follow you.
Yeah. Tell me about so was number 2 the 10,000 square foot facility you said your husband purchased?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. That was a lot of work. Oh my God. The maintenance and upkeep, keeping staff. It had 3 areas. We had a bar area, we had a main dining area, then we had a private dining area. And so we could have multiple events going on at one time. And the logistics of hosting multiple events is just overwhelming. I mean, like, you go to hotels and you see them having weddings here, and they're a quinceanera, or something else, another event in another place. And you think, these people are on point, because that is a lot of work to keep guests out of another guest area, the logistics, the time, making sure they set up, they break down, their vendors arrive on time. Managing 3 events at one time is it's a lot. So you have to be knowledgeable and understanding the logistics of how events maneuver to be able to do something like that. And so from my military experience, that really, I honed in on that. So that was really successful. We ended up selling that space because we relocated. I had an accident and I was in the bed for 2 years. So we relocated. And my third venue, believe it or not, I actually found it when I was still in a wheelchair. I was very passionate about this industry. I just did not want to give it up. I actually found it in a wheelchair. I would meet my clients in my wheelchair, this, that, and other. And so it was more manageable for me, even, with my disability at the time. And I had multiple surgeries. And this is one thing I tell people. You have to think out of the box. I had a surgery where I had to be in the bed for 6 months, but my venue still needed to operate. And I was the sole source person at this time, but I did hire a venue coordinator. So my venue coordinator kind of ran everything, but during the day she had a job. So I had to automate all my processes. And I'm going to be honest with you. Anytime I've been down, and focus, those have been my highest grossing years, always. And so what I had to do is automate my processes. I had to automate my doors so my clients could come in the door. I had a camera system where I could talk to my clients. We would leave literature on the table. If they wanted to meet with me anytime after, we set up, video conferences or calls or anything like that. And it just works. I did not drop a dime. So that's what I'm telling everybody. You must have processes in place. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. And to be honest with you, my clients were just so wonderful. They understood, but they was like, we still got all the experience. Even if I had to have vendors come in for cake tastings or whatever, DJs need to come in and test the sound system. We could give them a code. They can lock the door. They go in and do what they want. We see them through the camera. We make sure everything is secure. It was awesome. So, like I said, it's just not about throwing a party. It's about knowing every aspect and have contingency plans in place. So, and I can't impress this upon, my clients enough. Don't get down. Things are going to happen, right? Things are going to happen, but you have to make the best of a bad situation, and you grow from it and you become stronger, and your clients recognize that. And guess what? They're going to go out and tell Bonnie Z, Bonnie D, Bonnie E, Bonnie F, and you're going to blossom. Yeah.
Hey there, pardon the interruption. I wanted to take a minute and share about Common Sense Events and the consulting and management services we provide. Common Sense Events has been a venue management company that professionally manages and operates venues all over the United States for the last 5 years, and we've booked hundreds and hundreds of weddings. We've spent thousands and thousands of dollars on Google ads and Facebook ads per year, and we would love to help serve you at your venue if you're considering a new model of venue management. Now, this is perfect if you own or operate a venue and you're just looking to kind of have it be more of a passive investment for you, more of a real estate play rather than an active business that you run, or if you're a real estate investor and you're looking to purchase a piece of land but don't really know how you're going to manage it. That's where our team comes in. We do everything from the marketing, the sales, the operations, and we have teams in place that we hire locally to help you with all of those things. We manage those teams, we pay for the taxes, we do everything from setting up tables and chairs all the way to the final review of the wedding. So if that sounds interesting to you, we would love to chat with you. You can reach us at venues@cseventservices.com, and you can also just reach out on the podcast. You can send us a DM on Instagram, or even just click the link in the description of this video or podcast. Thank you so much. Now back to the show. Wow, that is such an incredible story. So you were able to do, and now this is the third venue when you relocated, correct?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
These, I know, were the previous two, you said in Georgia, and then
they were in Florida. Previous two were in Florida, then we moved to Georgia.
Okay, got it.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had a number of different types of experiences through this. The first one was an outdoor space. Was the second indoor and outdoor?
It was indoor.
Okay.
Indoor.
The third one was also indoor?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
I know, that first one, you didn't totally keep running it, but did you find it was easier to operate the outdoor property or the indoor property? Or kind of what were the pros and cons of each?
Indoor. Outdoor, once again, you have to have contingencies because it is an outdoor space and you have weddings. So, even though we had a pavilion, what are you going to do when they have guests that's going to sit on the lawn? So you have to have contingencies. You have to have that tent, right? You have to have that flooring put in, right? So it's a lot. How are you going to maneuver the bride from the bridal suite to the outdoor space to the tent without her dress getting wet and and people, you got to have people there with umbrellas, the logistics and the upkeep, especially when you have tropical plants and you have trees and lawns and keep on maintenance. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And you've got to make sure that things are in order and proper the day of the event. I mean, say for instance, wonder if my lawn guy doesn't show up, the day before or the morning of, or somebody doesn't come to blow off the driveway or something, so I just think it was so much harder, because when you're indoor, you don't really have to worry about the elements, outdoors, the elements, the upkeep of the grounds. It was a lot of work. It was a lot. That's why I tell my clients, if you don't have industry experience, Start small. Start small. And if you purchase a location and it's smaller, but make sure you can expand if need be. But I always tell them to start small.
I love that you kind of transitioned there. I wanted to ask about your clients and kind of what do you do? I've got your website pulled up here, and we're going to put links to that in the description for everyone to go check out. But it's BonnieRHawthorne.com, correct?
Correct.
And Hawthorne was at E. Again, we'll have all that in the show notes. But tell me a little bit about the mentorship program, some of the services packages. Like, how do people work with you? How do you serve your clients?
So we have one-on-one coaching, and normally my one-on-one coaching is for my established venue owners. But we do take on new clients. But normally what I tell them, because I want them to focus on building their foundation, is to go to the Small Business Association, workforce development. Some community colleges have, small business classes for startup businesses. So that's where I want them to put their efforts in the beginning. And then if they need our services, we have strategy call bundles. We do have the mentorship program. We do have a digital course that's going to launch in July. And that'll come with templates, resources, also a Facebook community so you can interact with like-minded individuals. And we will definitely come into the Facebook group like once a week for questions, discussions. We'll answer all kind of questions in the Facebook group. But I often tell people, get yourself prepared before you come into our mentorship program. Like I said, we've had clients that are newbies to the industry, and I work with them from 3 to 6 months. And then I have clients that are already established event venue owners that don't understand pricing, packages, vendor relationships, how to secure, where to procure equipment and things of that nature. So, and that program is usually 3 months. So, once again, it's our mentorship, our strategy calls, and we also have Facebook groups, outside of what we will be offering for, our, online class. So those are the 3 ways that they can work with us. Also, we have a YouTube channel, that has a plethora of information. As you know, you can go to our Instagram. If you haven't been to our Instagram, you're missing some nuggets because we post every day, stories, reels, and then, the posts. So there is a plethora of information in there.
Amazing. We'll definitely have to leave all that information. I wanted to spend the last bit of time with you today, kind of chatting through some specific things that I think a lot of people, maybe there's some misconceptions around, but, also things that people may struggle with. So I wanted to ask you, for the venues that you coach now, as well as the venues that you had previously, what's your take on packages? How should a venue owner approach creating a package for their venue, whether it's blank canvas or all-inclusive?
Well, first of all, burnout is real, okay? So some venue owners, they will try to do everything. Catering, the cake, the flowers, the decor and everything. I tell my clients, no, go out and build relationships, because what if something happened to you and you've got a client and you're telling them you're going to give them everything in this package? First of all, you need to build relationships, get their pricing, and build your packages from there. A low end, a medium, high end, right? And so I think packages, people, millennials, they don't want to run around these days. They want a one-stop shop. And I think packages kind of sway people. I really do. The more that you have that you can offer a client, and the greater for their experience, and they're not having to go back and forth. I think packages are a great thing. I really do. But again, you need to be sure to have that blank slate where you're not, it's all right to offer, but just not push it down their throat, because some people have their own concept of what they want to do in the space. And that's all right too, And so people must be open to that, because I've had clients that come in and say, do you do catering? Well, we don't do catering, but we do have caterers on staff. Are we allowed to bring our own caterer in? And so I say yes, but I know some venues have buyouts. If you're going to bring your own caterer in and they have a catering kitchen caterer, you have to buy them out. So, but I do believe packages are a great thing. That's a way you can upsell and have more, revenue coming in your door, streams of revenue. Yeah.
I want to dive into this a little bit deeper, because I've noticed, so our management, we have a wedding venue management company, and it manages properties in California. We do have some in Georgia as well. I've noticed a difference in the market in Georgia, Tennessee, some of those markets, Texas, that people really like the packages, maybe more than some other places that we've seen. When you create a package, are you taking the money in as the venue and then you're paying out each individual vendor? Or are you just creating relationships and kind of negotiated prices with these vendors, and then once someone books with you, sending them to work directly with that individual venue, them being the client?
Yeah, so it depends on the vendor. Some vendors want to, like, say, for instance, I have a designer, and she meets with my clients, but I usually take the money and disperse it, because even if I have a relationship with my vendors, and say, for instance, hypothetically, my bride is late on her payment and my vendors need their money to do order their flowers or whatever it is, I pay them out of my pocket so that I can keep this relationship, because I know this client is going to pay me. They may just had a little hiccup, but yeah, I pay my vendors because I want to keep the relationship good, and I want to make sure they're paid, and I want them to know that I have credibility, I'm trusting, and you don't have to worry. When you come to my venue to work with me, there is never going to be an issue about your money. So I prefer to pay my vendors, because also it kind of helps the client as well. I mean, they're dishing out checks or, selling people their money or however form they're going to pay. And it just gets to be overwhelming for them. So if they have one central repository that they have to pay one person, it's all the better for them, right? So they're not having to worry about, oh, did I pay the baker? Did I pay the florist? Oh, did I pay the DJ? So I think it's beneficial for them. It's less stress. I mean, especially if brides are planning weddings, they're stressed already. So why add to it, right? So if there's anything that we can do to enhance the client experience, that's what we need to do. And I tell people in this industry, it's trial and error. It's trial and error. But if you're collecting other people's monies, your vendors, you must have a thorough understanding of how they operate, what is expected of them. And overall, your client is number one, right? You cannot tell me that you're going to give my clients peonies and we're paying you for them, and you come in and you're giving me hydrangeas. Yeah. That's a no-go, right? That's a no-go. Yeah. We don't deal in it. So we have to have a thorough understanding of the venue and vendor relationship. Yeah. Mm.
You've mentioned a couple of times workforce development, SBA, some of these different resources that are available to business owners. And what I'm hearing from you is you want venue owners to have business knowledge and understanding before even getting to specific venues, specific like industry knowledge. What holes are you seeing that this is filling? Like, what void do you see venue owners sometimes, like venue owner hopefuls, are coming into the industry, they want to do it, but they don't understand, what is it that they're getting from some of these other resources?
My thing is, this is the number one thing I get when venue owners, I got a space, now what I do? Now what you do, you're paying a mortgage, you're paying rent, and you don't know what you're doing. Had they gone to workforce development or SBA and got this business knowledge, then you would know the steps of operating a business. You would know, one, that you got to register your business. You have to get insurance. Some of them don't even know where to go to get insurance, so they're not even operating legally, which we know that is a big no-no, right? So if they start with the basics and understand how everything functions, then it can fall in place. And then I can come along and hold your hand through the process. Okay, you need equipment. We got equipment. You need to understand marketing. We can help you with that. Any questions that they have along the way, as long as they have that foundation, as to what they need to do to operate a business, their banking account, register their business, their EIN, are you going to be an S Corp or a C Corp? All that and sales taxes. How many venue owners do I know that did not know that they are supposed to pay sales taxes? That just blows my mind because, Uncle Sam wants their money and you pay taxes on everything, right? So I'm just a little shocked when people say, oh, I didn't know I had to pay sales tax, So it's things like that. When you start with that great foundation, and even in our course, we touch on those things. We touch on, registering your business, the difference between sole proprietorship, LLC, and things in that. So we do touch on it, but you still need to have that foundation because you're going to touch on it, but what we're going to dive into is venue ownership and venue management. Yeah. And so, yeah.
You're actually doing the industry. You want to focus on the industry, less kind of general business education that they need to come to the table with already. Right.
And like I said, we do that because there's some, there's even policies and procedures in our industry that we need to make sure that they understand, Some people don't, the contract, for instance, you need to have an in-depth, thorough contract. And I tell people, just like a business plan is forever evolving, your contract is forever evolving. Even myself, somebody will do something and you think, God, who would have done that? Right? Somebody did it. So we need to go back and redo our contract a little bit, the house rules and things like that. So everything is forever changing. It's ever evolving. So, I need to make sure that they are aware of that, everything from, getting their fire extinguisher inspected every year, right? To having, understanding ADA compliance, everything that encompasses our industry. That is my responsibility to make sure that my client has the knowledge of it or the tools or the resources, to facilitate that in their space.
Yeah. I love that. Bonnie, I want to wrap today with asking, what are some tools that you use to kind of help roll out some of these processes and systems? And I'm talking practical things like, messaging applications on computers or phones, maybe timekeeping and attendance stuff. Like what are some of the tools you're using to make these things happen?
So, my platform that I use is HoneyBook because, I always tell my clients, you need a CRM system. Right. And HoneyBook does it all. You can send your emails out, right? You can correspond with your clients. You have your processing, you have your scheduling. Like our venue, we completely use HoneyBook because it allows us to schedule tours. Like I said, payment processing, everything, once we offboard our client, we ask for reviews through there. So HoneyBook is a great resource. Also, we just do, a lot of, I use Trello. It helps me keep track of my, tasks and things, daily tasks, and helps me. And I have a team. And, I know I tell my clients, everybody doesn't start out with a VA. A VA is nice, but if you don't have the funds, you need to learn to do it yourself and then outsource it. I'm a big component of, and my team will tell you, I will tell them, okay, I want you to do this. But first, I need you to teach me how to do it. If it's something that, because I'm not a very tech savvy person. And so my VAs, they really help me a lot. And so I've grown through that. But anything that you think that is going to help your clients have a better customer experience. But I'm just going to say this. If you don't have a CRM, you're not going to be successful because one thing is those automations within your CRM. Like I tell my clients, I go on holiday 30 days every year, a whole month. I take off, I go abroad. And they was like, well, how do you do all this? Because I have automations in process, even by venues. If you go into my contact form on my website, within 5 to 10 minutes, you're going to get a response. Especially as a venue owner, you can tell them, give them a little detail about your venue. You can tell them the times, the amenities, your rates. You can put a link in there for them to schedule the tours. So the CRM, if you get nothing else, that is a tool that you must have to operate. And that's what I impress upon my clients before I overwhelm them with, Trello and Flowdesk and all this kind of stuff, CRM. Let's start with the basics. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on the show today and talking about this and what you do, how you serve your clients. I'm really impressed with the level of, experience you have. And I honestly, I know it didn't feel good at the time, but it's really a neat thing that you have kind of that experience where that venue did get shut down, because now you can help people in our industry avoid something like that. And you could say, hey, I went through it and I improved, and, you continued iterating. But I love that. That's a really powerful story. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm excited for what you're doing for the venue community and how you're kind of helping us up level. It's awesome.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And I certainly appreciate you giving me the platform to share my knowledge and my experience.
Definitely. My pleasure. Last thing before we go, what's the best way if people want to reach out to you, connect up? Obviously, you said Instagram. There's some really valuable nuggets on there. So people want to go check that out. What Instagram handle is that, by the way?
So it's at BR Hawthorne Teaches.
Okay.
Yeah. So the best way to contact me is really through my website. If you fill the contact form out, I'll get an email through my automation, CRM folks, and we'll respond to you. You'll get an initial email, and then I'll make contact with you. And then we'll set up a discovery call to see how we can best work with you.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thanks again. So appreciate you coming on, and this has been wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. Have a good evening.
Pardon the interruption, I wanted to take a moment and share with you about WEVA. WEVA stands for Wedding and Event Venue Association, and it is a professional association custom built for venue owners and operators. We felt like there was a lack of resources, community, education, and networking available specifically for our industry, and so we recently started this association, and it's been growing by the day. We would love to extend an invite to you, so please click the link in the description or wherever you're watching this video, and we would love to welcome you into the community.